John, I guess you've got something of a point to prove here this weekend at Queensland Raceway.
Yeah, I guess so. Noons, I haven't run in one of these cars for about 3 years since WPS in 04, so I'm a bit rusty to tell you the truth, and I want to get some mileage and do a good job.
You've been pretty successful in the NZV8 series. In fact, you're the champion in that category, but it's a massive step from those cars to these cars.
Yeah, look, it is. It's a totally different car to drive, and I think some of the drivers at home would probably be a bit surprised at the difference, but you can see Kane Scott, who's my biggest rival at home, he's just started to get on top of these cars, so he's proving that we can run at the front, so I've just got to get some miles. And
what's the biggest step for you coming from those cars to these cars? What's the hardest part to adapt to?
Well, the hardest part is the braking. These cars demand so much under brakes, and of course trying to get the power down on the exit of the corner. So it sounds simple, braking you would think was quite easy, and putting your foot on the throttle also quite easy, but mixed in with the sort of speed you've got, and the Dunlop control tyre doesn't offer a lot of lateral grip, so it's a very difficult car to drive.
Is this a one-off for you, or will we see some more of you in the championship later in the year?
No, definitely we're going to do Oran Park, and we might also do Bathurst as well, so we're just doing it a round at a time at the moment, but more than sure we'll be at Oran Park.
Things might be going the Kiwis' way. 10th in race 1 leaves him on pole position for race 2 in the reverse grid, top 10 at Queensland Raceway. Now beside him on the front row of the grid, young Tim Slade has been the runner-up in Formula Ford, has recently signed a 2-year deal with the Matthew White team to drive their Falcon through into 2008. Let's see what Michael Caruso can do from 10th on the grid. Andrew Thompson listed to start there from position 11. He's got a lot of work to do, but has been given a drive-through penalty post-race from race 1, so he's going to start a lot further back on the grid.
And Damien White right down on row 12. He's got a lot of work to do in front of him. It's going to be interesting to watch him try and carve his way through this pack.
He had some contact with Jose Fernandez in the first race. The big field of cars at Queensland Raceway. Mark McNally suffering with a lack of drive out of the turn, struggling for a setup this weekend. John McIntyre and Tim Slade, the front row of the grid for race 2 at Queensland Raceway. Adam Sharp and Jose Fernandez starting from the second row of the grid. And John McIntyre, for a guy who's been out of these cars for 3 years, gets a very good jump to turn 1.
Tim Slade also really got off the line very well. In fact, I thought he'd lead into the first turn, but McIntyre's got it nice and clean, and he's going to be trying to put as much space between him and Tim Slade as he can.
Turn 2, it's busy in the mid-pack. Look at Tim Slade, just looking for a little bit of grip. Michael Caruso out wide over the exit of the curb on the exit of turn 2. And look at them all fan out to cover the inside line into 3.
Everyone's trying to block so no one can go by. And of course, we see a bit of obligatory brake smoke down into turn 3. Always a lock up there on the first lap. Cold brakes, cars sliding everywhere, but everyone manages to get through here with just a little bit of contact. Damien White off to the left there, all his good work done, out the door.
He and Mark Howard were certainly getting involved there. Look at Andrew Thompson. He started position 30. He's already caught up to Zekanovic, who started from 23rd. Look at sideways on the exit there through turn 4. You have to be very patient with the throttle here on the exit of 5.
Zekanovic, plenty of speed as he goes around the outside of Jones, but he's at the wrong spot for the corner. He's on the outside. He's trying to elbow his way over. There'll be cars going everywhere at this point in time, all just trying to find their way, sort themselves out, fall into Indian file, I guess, and work out how they get past the car in front.
That's a great shot at turn 1 of those bumps. They're getting worse and worse every year. It's really a case of making the car ride them very well.
And from the in-car camera, there's a dip right in the middle of the road here. We see the car hit the bump there. Doesn't look much from this angle. Oh, Jones getting a little bit wide there on the exit. And that's what tends to happen through turn 2. The cars come in, they've got a bit of understeer, Taylor on the way out.
Adam Sharp, the Englishman in one of 3 Howard cars, was running 3rd on the road, but has made an error at turn 3.
And you're probably wondering how come he can drive that car out so easily, but he struggled going through the sand. It's proper dirt on the outside of that just before where they hit the wall, so they can get on the road and drive like they're on a dirt road.
Now this is Andrew Thompson challenging his team owner, Mark Howard, in the 37 car, and Mark lets Andrew around the outside. He knows he's a young guy on a charge, trying to fight his way back and earn some more championship points.
Well, the last bloke you want to upset is the one that owns the cars that you're driving, so he'll be giving him plenty of room.
John McIntyre leading the way, but Tim Slade's not letting him get away.
Not much between these two cars at all, and we can see them, as we'll talk about in the next couple of races, really working the bumps hard. Two different lines there running into two. McIntyre turns in late, Slade turns in early. Slade runs a little bit wide on the exit. McIntyre picks its throttle up and tries to carry that speed down the straight.
Tim Slade, 9th in the Fujitsu Series points coming into this weekend. Just a small lock-up down there at turn 3. Is going to drive for Matthew White's team for the rest of this year and has also signed a deal for next year. But it's Johnny McIntyre who leads the way in race 2 at Queensland Raceway. Back at Queensland Raceway, race 2, round 4 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Tony D'Alberto, the championship leader, flying the flag for Holden, trying to work his way through in this reverse top 10 race. He's got Michael Caruso behind him and a great drive, Brad Jones, by Jonathan Webb. Started at the rear of the field in race 1, worked his way through to start from 14th and now runs inside the 10.
Has got a very fast car, but is finding it tough to get past people, as is Michael Caruso. D'Alberto, they haven't moved too much. Sure, the cars are ducking and diving, moving around, but shows you the depth of the Fujitsu Series now. There just isn't that opportunity to swamp people and go past them and get to the lead really quickly. These guys have to work very, very hard for any position inside the top 10, and that's what we're seeing here.
A lock-up down at turn 3 was that Shannon O'Brien, the ex-Larka Motorsport car. Now, Michael Caruso, we talked about this car. It's an ex-FPR car. It's the machine used earlier in the year by Team Kiwi. Paul Radisich drove it for a few rounds, so certainly a current spec car. And Jonathan Webb keeping tabs with these guys, but really it's a case of just playing things out in this race, using the tyre bank wisely as well. Oh, Andrew Thompson and Marcus Zakanovich get together for the second race in a row.
Well, it looks like it's done a bit of damage to Thompson's car there. That second hit where he got him in the right-hand door, he wouldn't have been expecting, and certainly disabled Thompson's car. Zakanovich looks like he's going all right. We see all the smoke coming out of it in the background.
Unbelievable that they should come to grief for the second time in 2 races. Zakanovich has a damaged car. He heads to the pits.
And there's a mechanical black flag. That's for Sharp, the Englishman in the number 32 car. He's got a loose window panel, and he's going to have to come into the pits to get that removed. So that's effectively going to take him out of the event.
Luke Yilden sitting 3rd in the HPM car. Kane Scott in behind him, and there's Adam Sharp reporting into the pits to respond to that mechanical black flag. Marcus Zakanovich and Andrew Thompson also in there as well. So 2 Howard cars in the pits.
Zakanovich's car doesn't look that bad. We see all the smoke coming out. Obviously, the brakes are very hot, up around 800 degrees, and of course now there's no temperature. That's why they're smoking the way they are.
A replay at turn 3. Sam Walter up the inside of Colin Cedars, who I don't think he really expected that the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore was going to be there. Drew Russell takes off to miss him, and Dean Neville in the Kids Home Falcon in the sand at turn 3 to take avoiding action. Here's the replay of Thompson and Zakanovich. Was that a case of Marcus not being sure that Andrew was there because he did have another car in front?
Wow, that car really goes high in the air, doesn't it? No, I think Marcus got balked a little bit on the way in there, and he's taken the wide line. You see he's one out, one back a little bit. Little bit of contact from Andrew. The way the car's spinning, it's going forward as well. Thompson's clipped the front of him and then driven over the front left-hand wheel and damaged the car substantially.
And if Andrew Thompson's championship challenge wasn't on track before this race, it is certainly off track now. It's going to take a minor miracle for him to work his way back through the field. We take a restart. The Dean Neville Falcon removed from the gravel at turn 3, and the bumps down into turn 1 on this restart. The tyres are cold. There's Grant Denyer working his way through. Started from the rear of the field, has made some good forward progress.
This car of Yulden's very taily. You see him chasing the back of the car off that corner, and that's allowed Kane Scott to get up the inside, get a good run down into 3, and now break him.
Yulden fights back, but he's on the wrong side here for the exit and the run towards 4. So Kane Scott picks up another spot. He's going to drive for Jack Daniels Racing at Sandown and Bathurst later on in the season. A great indication of the number of Fujitsu drivers getting berths in the main game for Sandown and Bathurst.
You only just need to look at the racing that these guys are producing to see that they're at that level now where they can compete in the main game, and certainly acquit themselves very well in Sandown and Bathurst, the two premier events for the main game.
Let's not forget also a round of the Fujitsu series at Mount Panorama. It's the penultimate round in the 2007 championship. There's Marcus Marshall, who is going to be a teammate for Kane Scott at Jack Daniels later in the year. Shannon O'Brien, Tony D'Alberto, Michael Caruso, Jonathan Webb. None of them have really made any moves in this race.
They're so close. There's just nothing between these guys, and that's what's making it so hard to pass. Here's Jose in the Fujitsu car, working very hard on that car on the way into two.
We've done a lot of work on that car in the break between rounds from Winton to Queensland Raceway. Look at Michael Caruso. He cut across there to turn 3 to cover the line on Jonathan Webb. Good run here too. Oh, John McIntyre, our race leader, has dumped it off the road at turn 3. So Tim Slade goes through now to take the lead in race 2, and that's such a shame. And John McIntyre spoke earlier about finding it difficult to get used to the brakes in this car, and turn 3 is a tricky part when you're not used to them.
Well, if he's struggling with the brakes in this, wait till he gets into the main game. The thing about going off the road, you see him jump on the brakes, all the dirt coming out of the front of the car. He's back in 12th spot now. He'll be very agitated.
Sean Grant Denny there have a little tap of the brakes with his left foot just to bring the pedal up to make sure he's got a nice rock-hard brake pedal for turn.
Just a bit of a confidence touch there, and you tend to do it in those hard braking areas wherever you really get it. And of course, here at Queensland Raceway, there's 3 or 4 of those in every lap.
That car, an ex-Russell Ingall Stone Brothers car. Kane Scott, though, has gone through to grab the lead from Tim Slade. So this is very important in terms of the way that the grid will line up for race 3, which is an aggregate result from race 1 and 2.
Kane Scott has done very well to pick his way through this field. Sure, he had a little bit of help with McIntyre going off, but he's got his head down. When he passed Yulden, he was overshooting the corners a little bit. Not the case now. He's got the apex absolutely pinpoint accurate, and he's driving very, very well. He's just slowly skipping away here, and he's going to be hard to beat.
Luke Yulden worked his way through into 3rd. Some small damage there to the left rear of that car. Started from position 7, but Kane Scott, who started alongside him from position 6, a bit further back in the pack. Luke Yulden has a little look at Tim Slade out of turn 6, but they're not going to catch the Kiwi. Kane Scott takes his first win in the 2007 Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Faultless drive in the XHRT Commodore.
He'd have to be very happy with that. It's taken him a little while to get comfortable in the car, but that's a great result for Kane Scott.
Great result too. Tim Slade, a career best in 2nd. Clear of Yulden, Marcus Marshall and Tony D'Alberto. Great drive. David Cedars, new engine on board that car. He rounds out the 10.
Chris Pither, great charge for him. He went from 21st to 12th.
And Ashley Cooper managed to score his first championship points in V8 Supercars, finishing in 15th.
Brett Hobson, another one worth mentioning, from 31st to 19th. Great job by Brett.
But for John McIntyre, it was a case of so near yet so far.
Exactly, you know, just the driver error. I locked the right front brake on the very first lap, and on lap 12 I found that exact same flat spot, and you know, got a puncture and off I went. So it's just part of the learning process of driving these cars.
These days, the green factor is becoming more and more important. While racing V8 supercars might not be seen as the most ecologically conscious sport in the world, there is this to consider. Ethanol, produced right here in Australia as a byproduct of grains and sugar, has struggled to gain acceptance in many parts of the country as a partial mineral fuel substitute. But thanks to the Queensland Government initiative and a little help from V8 supercars, that message might just have a better chance of getting through.
Yes, the Queensland Government is supporting the Plus E ethanol blended fuels campaign. They're trying to promote the use of ethanol blended fuels in your normal road cars, and we're helping them this weekend to try and draw attention to that campaign.
And not many people would know, but this year in V8 supercar racing, the fuel is in fact 5% ethanol.
That's correct. All the race cars this year, the V8 supercars in both the Championship Series and the Fujitsu Series, run on Shell V-Power Racing, a 5% ethanol blended fuel. The same as what you buy at the local service station.
I guess the great part too is you haven't had to make any engine changes for this fuel.
That's correct. The engines haven't had to change at all to use that fuel. There's a misconception that ethanol might hurt their cars, but this is living proof that the V8 supercars run just as well on that ethanol blended fuel as ordinary unleaded fuels.